I'd also like to thank the lead instructor in this workshop, Kate Senecal, who's been driving up every week from Northampton. Now I understand she lives in East Hampton. I don't know how much farther that is, but in any case, we appreciate the effort for her coming up. And so, without further ado, we'd like to introduce to you our first reader, and her name is Lisa Blake. So thank you so much.
I'm glad to hear the turning point got measured. Okay, let's see if I'm going to do this right. I just hold it like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. This is called Moon Murder Mental. It's a poem, and it's very short. We can talk about the moon, okay. We can talk about murder endlessly, but the word mental reaches into the unknown, especially if coming before the word illness. Maybe if we knew what is meant by mental health, we could understand the other. The world now lacks mental health. Was there a time when Earth had mental health? Not just for priests and scientists, but for everyone. My guess is that belief is what will foster health. That's it. And the next reader is Jackie McElroy.
I've never used one of these before. The moment I knew something had to change. The moment I knew something had to change, I was desperate to be left alone, without talking or being talked to, and didn't want anyone near me. I was desperate, and I didn't want to hear anyone try to soothe me or tell me everything will be okay and work out. I didn't want it to work out. I wanted out. Right then and right now. It did not matter to me that I would have to find a place to live. I didn't care that I would have to go back to work again to support myself. I needed to be away from my life as it was now, and I wanted to be free again. It does not matter that I'm too old to begin again. I need a new life. My current life is not working. My current life is too much work. It carries too much responsibility. It's too hard to live this way. Thank you. And I have a When someone I know is using. When someone I know is using, I always feel that I want to stay away. I know that it's very hard to end an addiction because it took me so long to end my drinking. I craved the sweetness and remembered the taste for many months after I finally made the decision to stop using. It took me months to be honest with myself. Finally, I found a sponsor and even got drunk when I realized I'd forgotten my last drinking episode and hadn't told her. I respected her opinion of me, and I knew that I would have to come clean if I wanted her sponsorship. When I was finally truthful, she accepted me as a sponsee. I was grateful and relieved. Our next reader is Lad Butler from Brattleboro.
Can you know?
Yeah.
I've locked rooms, cut arms, broken teeth, tree chains, and scolding parents. Lone boating in uncharted waters without place scenarios, half-blind face attachments. And the brown bomber and bled for my three-legged canine. Whiskey door teenage path taken with car crashes to learn after years of suffering and pain, then to recover 50 years of existence. Only one thing changed. It was everything. Of one directive, more learning, less knowing as continuous metamorphosis incurred. Forgiveness crucial, a amends profound. All is reborn within with gratitude, as self-seeking becomes self-begetting, as more shall be revealed. For it started as the walls were closing in fast. I was living fast. Something had to be done, or I was done. Would living be done? Winter was coming and had plans to live under the Sagamore Bridge, foraging and eating seaweed. In hindsight, one crazy deed. Intervention did follow. It was hard first to swallow, as this beech nut now hollow became Beech Hill wallow. Surrender was ready for me to be steady, as Ozzy once said, as I thought in my head, but dying is easy, it's living that's hard. As time upon time, I needed a guide. Warped thinking unraveled, had new paths to travel. Slowly I transported through the looking glass from hence I had started, unstartled. Being ready to be the non-departed. I don't know when the wave ride will end, but have 2 feet on the board, and life's journey which shall be much sore. Time will reveal what mysteries deal. If you need help, here's what I offer. When I drank booze, became quite the scoffer. I offer my experience, strength, and hope. Been told all the time not to say no. I've been where you are, sometimes near, sometimes far. Most times of all, it was subpar. I've been on trips of senseless doings, as learning curves with mental stewings. Didn't think was a life void of all strife. You could show me, not tell me, of how life may be. Action with traction, I'm glad you foresee. For leads on the way of how to be free. To talking will listen, judge me not, will rebel, for defiance methinks leads straight unto hell. I don't know it all as used to be a know-it-all. For respect is what Aretha says, all I want is for future days. The noises in my head were nothing more than falsehood dread. I was told to look at words, reminding me of English nerds. Be silent and listen, for noise on the border, save letters here in different order. Learn to listen and listen to learn is what I feel strongly for major concern. For now that is said, it's time to be stern. By writing a letter before I adjourn. Dearest addiction, I hope you know well. The presence of you brought me straight on to hell. You are poison to me, cannot be near toxicity. I once was well, a hypnotic spell. Thought you were my friend, but you were my fiend. Making fun of logic, running through my head. I'm glad that you are gone, hope we never meet, for ridding you forever is one fantastic feat. May you disappear forever from me and from us all, for to hear of your misgivings is something to appall. Be gone, be gone! I hereby do declare, for if you ever show your face again, I urge you to beware. I have said enough to you and hope you get the point. You must never come around again and put me out of joint. Sincerely yours, Lad B. P.S. I have recovered health, dignity, sanity, understanding, compassion, mindfulness, just a few things on the tip of the recovery iceberg. I found empathy for those in the throes of addiction. In my recovery journey, I found passion for living. Growing old is a gift. Recovery is powerful to me. A new beginning, a second chance at living. A meaningful and real life without distortion. Cranial doings without contortion. Be in the now, for now do I see a clear, bright lit path to reality. More travels to go before I go. And it's the way I've heard, all to be so. That's all, folks. Our next speaker is Angela Barton from the Brattleboro Writers for Recovery Group.
where I'm from. I am from somewhere I don't know yet. I've tried to find it somewhere between my parents, in their shoulders, the way they stand, and the shoes I walked in as a child, and forests I ran through, open-armed, my limbs and tiny limbs of trees dancing together. I have looked for my reflection in the faces of my friends, in the lines on their foreheads, in the corners of their eyes. I have knelt down on my knees and looked above, open sky through slits of sun, somewhere that I am from. I have sat in dark corners of the rooms in my mind and have dribbled out pieces of myself onto paper. I have hung a mask in many closets. I am from somewhere I don't know yet. Something that is really hard for me. It is hard for me to stand in the doorway of my past and to close the door, to push it slightly with both hands, the white paint through the absence of my fingers, feel the wood's resistance, the creak of the hinges, to glance decisively at what stands behind, to look at it without the flush of heat invading my face, the empty of my yearning for a light there, to grab the handle, to turn the knob, and to finally find a key. When I was a child, there was a game we used to play. We played a game called Ordinary. We left it on a shelf with old groceries, canned food, packs of gum. We took it out like china when we opened the front door and neighbors came in. We brought it into the living room and sat it down with coffee. We all picked the same cards and played by the same rules. We played a game called Ordinary. We put it back on the shelf. It grew dusty like floors when no one walked on them but us. Sometimes we would circle the shelf when it was locked and imagine its contents. We would sneak glances through the cracks of the old wooden door, and we would recognize it in other people's homes where it belonged. The next reader is Vanessa Santana.
Dear addiction, I'm writing to tell you that I no longer need you. You lied to me. You sure did make me feel good for a little while. But chasing you and waking up looking for you every day, just to get to work or get out of bed. Then in a couple hours chasing you again and again, hoping you'd stick around for longer this time. I was out needing you more and more, for a little pill this time. I lost everything because of you, most of all my 2 little girls. I went through withdrawals and vomiting. Can't believe how you made me feel sick. I nearly died for you. I wish in the beginning you would have told me the truth, that chasing you is never ending. I lost it all thanks to you. I'm better now. You no longer control me. You're in my ear and I hear you. You know my debit card number, but no more. I'm done with you. Here's how it all started. How did it all start to begin with, as I stare at the walls, confused about the world, feeling lonely, scared, and small. Such fear of the world beating my soul. Why am I here? My mom, who I wanted to love me, didn't seem to care. What is my purpose here on earth as I look to the stars? How did it all start to begin with? What doctors need to know about addiction is that before writing off another prescription, they should look at a person like an innocent victim. Addiction doesn't discriminate, as we all know. From suburbs to ghettos, kids who had everything to the kid who had zero. Addiction is a battling storm waiting to be stopped. Like a car with no brakes, soon will be crashing in a couple of blocks. Wish I could have said no on that day. My life now doesn't really seem the same. Diagnosed with fibromyalgia surely didn't help it, I'll admit it. Abused, confused, and lonely was the main cause of it all. My problems began way back before I used anything at all. Early thoughts of suicide to wishing I was dead was a repeated tape playing over and over for years in the back of my head. One other thing you should know is that little blue pill is what started to run the show. My life changed in a matter of months. I thought you should know. The power it had over me, I never want to feel again. Living without it made me feel like I wanted to die. Aches and pains chills down my spine. So filled with anger, hatred, and fear, the little girl inside me was just crying, waiting for a cure. I'm now in recovery from a hopeless state of mind. Something I did and said I wish I could take back. I wish I could take back all the years I wasted, searching for answers in the bottles and drugs I consumed that surely didn't help me find it. I was always running from something, finding happiness in all the wrong places. So many years of suffering to know so many answers. I was running from me this whole time. I never lived in that big mysterious fog. I just started living to a new beginning. Our next reader is Richard Mayer from the Brattleboro Writers for Recovery Group.
This first piece is, the prompt for it was an ode to a valued possession. Can I
Put it on your ear.
put it on my
That
ear?
works better. Yeah.
Hello?
Somebody's coming to help.
There we go. This is like, yeah, this is like all those famous photo shoots when they say, come in. There you go. All
Thank you.
right.
Thank
There
you.
go.
Can you hear me? Okay, this is an ode to a valued possession. For about 15 years, I've had a blue and white striped crucifix hanging from my rearview mirror. I've had many different cars in that time, but the cross, which was fashioned from the unraveled thread of a blue and white crew sock, has been lovingly relocated every time I changed cars. It was given to me by an inmate in the Franklin County House of Corrections. The detainees make them to pass the time, and when I admired one, an inmate named Steve offered to make me one. He gave it to me through the bars the next time I came in. I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in redemption since it has happened to me, and I hope it happened for Steve as well. Sometime about a year later, after he got out, I picked him up hitchhiking in Greenfield. When he got in the car and saw the cross hanging on my mirror, he lit up and said, "You still got that?" That's when I knew I'd keep it always. The prompt for this one was, what would I like to tell somebody about recovery? First thing, it's not about hard work or homework. It's about attitude and gratitude, but not platitude. It's not about how bad it got, how many people got hurt, and who they were. It's about what you're going to do about it now. Get right with your parents, dead or alive. Get right with your kids. You get to pick your very own higher power, so don't pick one that doesn't like you. There's no hurry. Everything you need to confront, embrace, or jettison will present itself. You don't believe in God? That's okay. Just start looking. Look for God everywhere, not just in the obvious places. The Holyoke Mall, the Park Street Tea Station. God hangs out in all these places. He wears disguises sometimes, but you'll see him. A kind act, a smile between strangers, a piece of music. Listen and look for the messages. Share them with somebody else. Most of all, don't drink no matter what. Keep your sense of humor and hold on to your hat. The next speaker is Susie Walker.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, excuse me. My first prompt is from, my first piece is from a prompt called Where I'm From. Farmer's Daughter. I'm a farmer's daughter from cow country, from my dad's dairy farm to college Cowtown, USA, to the home of the strolling of the heifers. I'm a farmer's daughter from a loving family, gregarious and celebratory, but who often tipped back too many and toasted too much. I'm a farmer's daughter from voracious reading stock, where we passed books from grandparent to parent to child, talked about big ideas and felt deep feelings. I'm a farmer's daughter, caught between wholesome and naughty, as the various limericks and traveling salesman stories go, innocent as Ellie Mae Clampett or sassy as a hee-haw honey. I'm from a farmhouse where we kept more beer than milk, and we thought never-ending 12-packs were a staple of life everywhere, where the bulk tank in my dad's milk house held gallons of fresh, frothy milk, while the milk house fridge held a quarter keg of its own foamy beverage. I'm from a family where loved ones gathered at parties and reunions became strangers as the booths flowed freely and the day wore on, where I tried not to get caught in the sloshy swirl of the drunken chatter. I'm from a family where the white mustache smile is beer foam, not milk, but we learned to wipe the foam away. I'm from a family who said enough and cut off the flow, embracing recovery from my mom to my siblings to me. I'm a farmer's daughter who discovered that I'm enough and learned when to say when. And this one is something I just wrote last weekend, sort of inspired by various prompts from the group. It's called After All. She's in my mind at random moments, when I toss frozen food into my grocery cart with a resigned what the hell attitude, when I share special moments with my gal pals, or when I notice myself doing something with spunk and humor. She's been a role model since I was about 10, and ever since, she's felt like a friend. I was still playing with Barbie dolls then, but they grew more sophisticated when she came into my life. I remember a nightstand with a cubby hole for books that I emptied to decorate as an apartment for my single, career-minded doll to live in, just like Mary. I sewed outfits for her to wear to work or on dates, just like Mary. I wanted to grow up to be carefree and independent, just like Mary. At the time, I meant Mary Richards, her iconic character, but I grew to be more like Mary Tyler Moore, herself in many ways. Our home was loving, but also chaotic. We had moved to a farmhouse, and for the first several years, we weren't just family anymore. The hired hands lived in the house with us. They were a series of mostly good guys, just back from the war or hard on their luck, but some were what my mom called doozies. They drank too much and carried on in ways that were both fascinating and frightening to us kids. Our home wasn't a sanctuary from the world anymore, and the people we trusted to live with us did not always live up to that trust. So I'd escape into my playtime, imagining that my Barbie was like Mary, a strong, caring, funny, single gal who had a job and people she loved. Mary made a difference and was an example of feminism at a time when it was a radical idea. Women were burning their bras and little girls were fighting for the right to play Little League, but Mary had a more gentle style. My Barbie had her job and friends, dated my brother's G.I. Joes, and enjoyed her own refuge from the world, her apartment, a renovated nightstand with as much panache and style as my talents could muster. She loved her independence, and I loved mine. I was full of ideas and passion for learning and dreamed of being a journalist, just like my friend Mary Richards. But I was also riddled with insecurities and ignorant of how to proceed in my real life. I didn't know how to marry my dreams to my reality, so my reality got further and further from my dreams, and I drifted. While my life had joy in meeting, my insecurities led me into the abyss and abandonment of alcoholism. I forgot who I was and what I wanted. When I was brave enough to reconnect with my story, I was too overcome with disappointment and shame to start a new act. I'd get lost in the miasma of the alcohol and dysfunction, even as on the outside I managed to enjoy some success. But it was all a performance, one that involved my energy and skills but left my essential self behind, quietly bottled up inside. I sent Mannequin Girl into the world to go through the motions of my days, but her hollowedness left echoes. The prisoner inside got smaller and smaller, her voice harder and harder to hear on those rare occasions when she'd show up to audition a new act. I worked up the courage to hit the stage most days, but I'd retreat to the dressing room as soon as possible, dodging my supporters in search of solitude or bottled up courage. I'd isolate, comforting the lonely girl the only way I knew how, buoying her fleeting ambitions with the one fuel sure to produce only bad reviews, until at last I was stretched too far and couldn't carry on the farce any longer. Then I found recovery. I learned how to heal and bring all the pieces of me together again. All the roles I played merged into one, and I freed and embraced the bottled-up girl inside. I exchanged the false courage of alcohol for reality and relationships, including old friends like Mary. And I learned that Mary Tyler Moore was a recovering alcoholic too. She'd grown up in an alcoholic home and eventually turned to alcohol herself. But she found recovery and courageously shared that part of her life too in interviews and memoirs. Now she inspired me in a new way, showing the pluck and optimism of Mary Richards, but also the vulnerability and resilience of Mary Tyler Moore. People are capable of powerful transformations, and we learn from each other's examples. I smile now, knowing that, after all, I can cherish all of me and hold a special place in my heart for my friend Mary. Our next reader is Liz Riley from the Brattleboro Writers for Recovery Group.
Okay. I have 5 short poems that I'm going to read. First one is titled Fun. I thought my fun was over when I had to stop drinking. But just think about that for a minute. How much fun have you had being a drunk? What's fun about needing a drink at 6 a.m.? Having somebody said, I heard what you did last night, and not having a clue what they're talking about. Getting drunk at an office party, not being able to look at them in the eye in the morning, and the fun went on and on. The real fun started when I admitted I was an alcoholic at an AA meeting. The real fun started when I laughed more at a meeting than I had in months. The fun of fellowship and friendship, the fun of being of service to someone, the fun of bringing treats and having them devoured, the hugs, the chips, the greetings. The real fun in a new life began when I got sober. The next one is titled If Only. If there was something I said or did that I wish I could take back, if only we could change our yesterdays and take back our awful ways. If only you could change the pain that you inflicted on someone else, the bitter words that still remain. I wish I had never told my mother I hated her. This one's going to be hard. This is titled Goodbyes. I never realized how many goodbyes I would have to say on this journey of recovery. I said goodbye to my dog today, even though it breaks my heart. Knowing it is the best thing for him doesn't make it easier to part. I said goodbye to my porch today, the place where I've spent many a day. The dividing of our shared belongings left me a tearful mess, the sadness we're going through, the friends and family I've lost along this path. They just don't understand. I said goodbye to my husband today. We were together for 20 years. I have many happy memories. The dissolving of a union and the awakening of me. I said hello to a sober Liz today. I thank God for that. The first of many hellos, I hope. I said hello to the dawning of a brand new life today. This is titled Dear Lord. Dear Lord. Dear Lord, I give it up to you, this dilemma I've gotten myself into. I trust you as my guide. I'm so grateful you're by my side. I put myself in your capable hands, dear Lord, on this closing of a door. I know you have big plans for me. I know you have big plans for me, although I'm not sure what they might be. But I have faith you'll help me through whatever it is you want me to do. My future, my life is up to you, dear Lord, on this opening of a door. And the last one is called Morning Prayer. Good morning, God. Thank you for the beautiful day. Thank you for the blessings you've sent my way. Thank you for the morning birds. Please accept these heartfelt words. Thank you for the friends and family. Thank you for my sobriety. Thank you for the people you put in my path. Thank you for helping me laugh. May I share your grace with everyone, and always thy will, not mine, be done. And our next reader is Susan Alterac for Brattleboro Writers for Recovery. I'm hooked on writing.
Can you hear me now? Waking. For years I poured my soul out into a dirty glass. It took more than a decade to find my road at last. I eagerly poisoned my body, my mind, my soul, my life. The world saw my facade, a professional woman, a mother, a wife. Until the demon inside me became too strong to fight, then I gave up everything I cared for, my family, my home, my dignity. So drained and despondent, I had lost the war. The spark inside me flickered, even though I thought it had gone out, till a compassionate breeze found me, coaxed the flame back to life. I raised my head from the floor and I tried. I found those who would stand beside me and support me through this fight. I found help in a world of strangers who later became my friends. Like a baby, I had to learn to feel again, to take care of every day, to live my life without covering the pain, to learn that the sun was shining somewhere, even if I only saw rain. I'm trying to be patient. I'm doing my best to learn new ways, but I am truly grateful to have the chance to try again each day. This was based on the prompt about saying goodbye. It's ingeniously titled Goodbye. It's really hard for me to say goodbye. I want to vanish, sneak away. But I have learned that is not okay. It is really hard to say goodbye. Closure seems like a dirty word. The story ends with the closed door. Now I know that all things change. Still it's hard to swallow no more again. Life has surprises, some good and some horribly bad. If nothing ever ended, no new beginnings could be had. Yet, the sudden, shocking ending that leaves me asking why reminds me sometimes it's worse when we don't get to say goodbye. Our final reader is Kevin O'Donnell from the Brattleboro Writers for Recovery Group.
Not for my generation. Well, this is about where I'm from. I'm from a patriotic Cold War neighborhood with fathers, vets of Korea and World War II, heroes whose sacrifices simply saved the world, but men who never stopped paying their dues. I'm from a land with a young president, smart, handsome, charming, and full of vigor. So the moral choices he made sealed his fate. There were many fingers on those triggers. I'm from watching Walter Cronkite at 6:30 as our country was nightly torn apart by the overdue fight against racial injustice and a war that broke our heart. I'm from a country who used tax dollars to first discredit and then murder Dr. King and took another Kennedy to the wrong place. The bells of freedom slowly ceased to ring. I'm from a father with PTSD who hated his son since I put these horrible glasses on at the age of 3, reminding him of his own alcoholic dad. His anger was hair trigger and always aimed at me. I'm from many a therapist's couch who wonder why I can be bitter and cynical, whether by our own history or of my own life. Self-destruction has been the only obtainable pinnacle. From the door blew open and a dog dog walked in. The door blew open and a dog walked in. I'm sitting on the couch wondering why I didn't fix that door 2 years ago. True story. Wondering why he would pick a house with no dog food. Thinking of how many times the door blew open and I walked into a place I really didn't want to be, and how I got stuck there. Checking out this dog walking around, sniffing all around. I believe he, like me, picked the wrong place. He doesn't seem to want to leave. Guess he's a lot like me. Quick one. Let me tell you about my sober life. Meetings, 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 trying to find a job. Sober, but things are a royal mess, alone in an angry mob. Trying to keep up and falling way behind. Sometimes feel grateful and joyous, sometimes it's just a numbing grind. It's definitely harder this time, or maybe I'm just tired, but there is no alternative. Moments of peace, moments wired. Some hymns offered in peace were in reality a Trojan horse, but I don't have my street anymore, so I was fooled, of course. Every morning waking up is another chance at life. I know I'm not alone and happier in strife.